What's going on, everyone? I am just a typical, average American here today to react to a couple of news videos that came out very, very recently where Mark Carney was actually answering some questions about the current state of Canada US trade. And I'm actually really excited to get any kind of update about the status of this whole situation because the US Canada trade deal has kind of been in limbo for a while. I think ever since the Doug Ford tariff ad. You remember that one? I think Trump remembers that one. That really struck a nerve with Trump for sure. You got him on his like phone. You got him typing. When you got Trump like typing furiously on his phone, because like any great American president, you gotta post your major trade policy decisions at 3 a.m. on Twitter, right? Yeah. But anyway, I'm actually really curious to hear from Canada's point of view on where we're at in all this. So let's take a look.
With CTV News. I wanted to ask you something, just to be clear, based on a number of interviews you've done recently. Is it your view that if Premier Ford had not launched that ad in the United States, that sectoral tariffs would be lower right now?
Whoa. Okay. What a question, but also maybe kind of a pointless question. Because it's like, that tariff ad clearly was the catalyst that made Donald Trump like tip over the edge again. Maybe it was just inevitable and it would have happened no matter what, and that's like if it wasn't the tariff ad, who knows what it would have been, but Trump like ceased all trade negotiations based on that ad. Um so obviously like if they're asking a question like do you think putting out the ads like had a negative effect on the trade deal? Of course it did, but it's like I don't know if Canada knew that was going to happen, and even I don't know, part of me kind of thinks even if Canada put out the ad knowing it was like a little bit of a middle finger to Trump or the US government or whatever, I don't totally hate that in a chaotic kind of way. Like, Canada in this whole situation has kind of been like the bigger man, like, not resorting to all the stupid things that, Trump has said about Canada and the tariffs and the trade policies and the trade wars and in a lot of ways sort of breaking Canada's trust. That's something that the United States has done and been doing. So I don't like if Canada retaliates in for one thing by all the boycotts, but also like putting out a anti-tariff ad with Ronald Reagan or whatever. It's like I think Canada can do that. Is it the absolute best thing strategically for like getting a deal done? Maybe not, but I don't know. Part of me just thinks like Canada should get to throw some punches too, and it wasn't like a commercial of Donald Trump in clown makeup or anything. You know what I mean? It was just like Ronald Reagan talking about ads, but maybe Trump kind of like looks up to him or as a Republican or I don't know what it was. Or if you're making fun of tariffs, you're making fun of Trump somehow or maybe. I don't know. But I expect Carney to be like, yeah, the ad probably didn't help.
It was the case that we were close to an agreement. We didn't get that agreement. The terms of that agreement, from our perspective, are still on the table. The U.S. has not picked up that part of the negotiation.
What? I knew there were trade talks about this big trade deal that we're all waiting for. I didn't know. So right now, Canada is like ready and willing to make a deal with whatever the current terms may be. And it's just the United States that's like stalling this thing, just holding out and preventing this from happening. It's just us. I didn't realize that was the situation.
An agreement that would benefit, first and foremost, Canadian workers in steel, aluminum, in energy, some other sectors, but would also benefit the United States.
Of course, like the deal, like it's Mark Carney, and like Canada has to do what's best for Canada. Of course, I it. I'm making a lot of weird noises because I'm just kind of like stunned, thinking like, so it sounds like the deal could have been done and maybe should have been done and would have been done, and still could. Canada is literally like, yeah, we're ready to shake hands and make a deal, which is amazing progress and annoying to think that it's just the US not making any effort to get this done. Like it's, wow.
Tremendously. My judgment is that that is now going to roll into the broader CUSMA negotiations. So we're unlikely, given the time horizons coming together, to have a sectoral agreement. Although,
Look at Doug Ford. Look at Doug Ford in the background. I just noticed him. He's, I don't know what that expression is supposed to be. It's like, or what he's thinking. Maybe like, I didn't know this tariff ad was gonna like do all this. Or maybe he did know. I don't know, but I don't know. I just noticed him in the back there, kind of like obviously thinking about what's happening here.
if the United States wants to come back on that in those areas, we're always ready there. We're very ready. And I'll make one other point, head back. We are very ready on forest products to strike an agreement. And the United States has affordability challenges, including in the housing sector and the forest products sector, and we can make an immediate difference to affordability in the United States, to the benefit, yes, of Canadian workers, but also to American consumers.
This would benefit Americans, and we're not doing it? We're not doing any kind of deal? I don't know everything about the forest, trade, supply, whatever, but you don't have to be like a rocket scientist to understand, like, some of this trade negotiating stuff, some of the outcomes would be positive for the United States. We've been doing surprisingly, like, okay so far, although inflation is not under control by any means, and the price of goods is high, and the whole employment is not great, and the whole tariff idea of solving all these things with that certainly has not happened. Like it for American companies having to import from Canada, they have to pay the US government, and that price is not being passed on like some of that cost that US companies are paying is being reflected in the price of our goods, and we're having to pay more. Stuff is expensive. Like even McDonald's, for crying out loud. I don't know. I could go on and on about that, but yeah, this is frustrating. That this random Ronald Reagan ad has seemingly and Trump's ego about it, you could say, is like hurting Americans because we're just not entering any trade deal with Canada over this. Let's keep going. We got another video here about CUSMA. CUSMA is the Canada, US, Mexico trade agreement, which basically like outlines and facilitates the trade between our three countries and makes, from what I understand, it makes trade it facilitates it. It makes it easier and better between our three countries, and so it's a good thing.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, what do you think of the series of conditions that the U.S. trade rep says Canada has to meet in order to extend CUSMA, including bolstering market access to U.S. dairy and addressing the provincial bans on US alcohol, does this make you feel more encouraged or discouraged about reaching an agreement with US President Donald Trump? And Premier Ford, if you could weigh in afterwards, please.
What? Huh? I sound like a Neanderthal. This is what modern politics does to you. Huh? That's just the state of the world, or maybe American politics for that matter. I didn't know the Kuzma thing was under like negotiations or renegotiations. That's in jeopardy because that's a very important one, and America is making a list of demands, like to make this deal happen. I didn't know that we had all these demands. I want to know what those are.
Well, I'll put this in the context. These are a subset of issues of a much bigger discussion. We've been clear about our approach to supply management. We continue to stand by that. We'll continue to protect supply management. The President and I had a long conversation with President Sheinbaum about this a little under 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Which set out the broad parameters for the review of CUSMA.
This is not. This is very vague. I'm going to be honest. That was very like political or politician mumbo jumbo. I don't think he said anything right there. Literally for like 20 seconds. It was like, we are talking about things CUSMA. Like, okay, that didn't give me too much more insight.
As for alcohol, we've seen wine sales go up 76%. They're having a record year. The grape growers are having a record year. Small, large wineries are having a record year. Distilleries are. And when the Prime Minister and President Trump come up with a great deal for both countries, we'd be more than happy to bring in some maybe Kentucky bourbon.
Some maybe Kentucky bourbon. Okay, oddly specific. So Canada or Ontario is just like focusing on Canadian-made wine or alcohol, and you could see where that would like bolster like the production and the employment, and it's good for Ontario, I suppose. But at a certain point, I guess that does have to end if we're gonna make a deal.
But until then, we're going to hold off.
You were not expecting that there's going to be any kind of sectoral agreement with the U.S. government, that the tariff deal will be done at the CUSMA table?
Oh, so there's two things here going on that are up in the air. This overarching trade tariff deal between Canada and the U.S. and the CUSMA, Canada, U.S., Mexico. It's all kind of coinciding at once together.
These processes are coming together now. It's possible. We're ready. We could, if the U.S. wanted to sit down this weekend, we could sit down this weekend and hammer out a sectoral deal. I'm confident of that from our side.
That is so annoying to hear. Not that Carney's annoying. It's just annoying to hear like what the U.S. is just like not prioritizing this or just being petty. Don't want to sit down and it's more that, right? Because of the commercial or ad. We just don't want to. This could all be just done this weekend, he said.
That the terms of that agreement, from our perspective, are still on the table. The U.S. has not picked up that part of the negotiation. An agreement that would benefit first and foremost Canadian workers in steel, aluminum, in energy, some other sectors. But would also benefit the United States tremendously. My judgment is that is now going to roll into the broader CUSMA negotiations. So we're unlikely, given the time horizons coming together, to have a sectoral agreement. Although
sectoral agreement, so that is like how the U.S. is tariffing sectors of Canada, as in not specific items, not like a specific product or service, but rather like automobiles, blanket tariff, steel stuff. You know, those are the sectoral tariff things, and obviously a huge priority for Canada to get that ironed out. Because those have been in effect for a while now. It is crazy. It's freaking Christmas. It's Christmas and we're still talking about this. It's been that long. Oh my God.
The United States wants to come back on that in those areas. We're always ready there. We're very ready. And I'll make one other point, head back. We are very ready on forest products to strike an agreement. And the United States.
I hadn't heard about the forest stuff. I don't know much about that. But like Carney was saying, that's something that could like immediately benefit Canada and the US. And I don't know. It just seems like a lot of more progress on this whole situation could have been happening and should be happening. And it's just not happening for no real reason.
States has affordability challenges, including in the housing sector, in the forest product sector, and we can make an immediate difference to affordability in the United States, to the benefit, yes, of Canadian workers, but also to American consumers.
Wow. This was an interesting update because it was kind of frustrating. And I didn't even know that I should be frustrated. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff. And here in the United States, we certainly don't present this point of view. So that's why I think it is so valuable for Americans to like check out Canadian news and stuff like this. You definitely don't see this in the US. But from this point of view, an outside point of view, and the Canadian point of view on this, the US is just dropping the ball, stalling, tanking the deal, which is hurting real people, by the way, who are affected by tariff policies, and companies and business owners real people who are affected by this every day. We're just kind of stalling because Trump is salty about the ad, I think. And we're kind of waiting now for this CUSMA deal renegotiation, and America is making a list of demands for that. So that might not even... that huge trade agreement might be at risk as well. So that's a whole new issue. And maybe all of this will get settled at once, or it'll all blow up at once. I don't know. Who the heck knows anymore? But it's good to be, aware of where we're at in the situation, because like I said, limbo. I didn't know what was going on. So this was actually really valuable to me, although frustrating to hear, to be honest. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the current state of the US-Canada trade and relationship and all that. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.